Local gas codes vary widely, so a certified plumber familiar with local codes and regulations should make all gas line connections. Most applications will require a manual shutoff valve on the fuel line. When running gas lines, always use AGA-approved gas pipe. Use a quality pipe sealant or joint compound on all threaded fittings to reduce the possibility of gas leaks. When connecting the gas line to the generator, use a short section of UL-listed or AGA-approved flexible fuel line in accordance with local regulations. The purpose of the flexible fuel line is to ensure that vibration from the generator does not cause a gas leak at one of the connection points, so it's important that the line be installed with as few bends as possible. Never bend the flexible fuel line to avoid using an elbow. Bending the flexible line decreases its ability to absorb vibrations and defeats its purpose. When all connections are complete, purge the lines and check all connections for leaks in accordance with applicable fuel gas codes. Check the gas pressure at the secondary regulator to make sure there's enough pressure for proper generator operation. The local gas supplier is responsible for ensuring adequate pressure, so if the pressure is too low, or if it's greater than 14 inches of water column, contact the gas supplier. You'll need to check gas pressure again with the generator under full load, so leave the meter hooked up. When you've finished checking the gas pressure, close the manual shutoff valve. Your distributed load center transfer switch came with a 30-foot pre-wired flexible conduit and a pre-wired external connection box, so they're simple to install. First, determine where the flexible conduit will pass through the house and drill a 1 3/4-inch hole. Then, feed one end of the conduit through the hole from inside the house. Next, remove the knockout in the bottom right corner of the external connection box. Remove the threaded lock nut from the coupling on the conduit. With the conduit sticking out just far enough to properly fit into the connection box, seal the hole with silicone caulk. Don't forget to caulk the hole inside the house as well. Now feed the wires and the threaded end of the conduit through the back of the connection box, and use the appropriate fasteners to mount the connection box so that it completely covers the hole in the wall. Slip the lock nut over the wires and tighten securely. Connect all wires to the lugs in the connection box, black to black, red to red, and white to white. Attach the green ground wire to the ground screw and connect the two ends of the 4-pin plug connector. Replace the protective cover plate and lock the connection box. There are a few basic procedures and precautions that apply to any type of transfer switch. The first step is to make sure utility power is shut off to the main panel before starting. To ensure you're working with the latest information available, carefully read the installation guide that came with your switch. The distributed load center switch must be mounted close enough to the main distribution panel to accommodate the 2-foot pre-wired conduit. When choosing a location for the switch, make sure no water or corrosive substances can drip onto the enclosure. Unpack and inspect the switch for shipping damage. Never mount a transfer switch that shows any evidence of damage. Carefully lift the switch into position, protecting against impact at all times. Using the appropriate fasteners, mount the switch vertically to a rigid support structure, making sure all mounting points are level. If necessary, use washers behind the mounting holes to level the enclosure. To ensure safe and proper operation, all wiring must be of the correct size and type, and must conform to all applicable codes, standards, and regulations. Refer to the technical manual and the National Electric Code for additional information. As with any product, design changes can occur over time, so you should always refer to the wiring diagram in the installation guide for the required connections and safety precautions. The transfer switch you'll be using is an open transition switch. Open transition switches prevent electrical feedback between the generator and the utility by only allowing load circuits to be connected to one power supply at a time. Making the actual connections in the distribution panel is a simple procedure, but there are a couple of things you need to be aware of before you start. Your transfer switch was pre-wired at the factory, and all of the wires you'll need are already in the 2-foot flexible conduit. Each wire is color-coded, so you can see which circuit it's connected to in the transfer switch. There are 2 different single-phase configurations commonly used in home wiring. In one, each circuit has its own neutral wire. Typically, all of the power wires in this configuration will be black. The other uses 3-conductor cable consisting of 2 120-volt power leads and a single neutral wire. You can often recognize 3-conductor cable because one power lead will be red and the other black. With 3-conductor wiring, 2 120-volt circuits will often share the same neutral wire. Unless you're a licensed electrician, you should either move both of the circuits that share the neutral or don't move either of them. When moving 2 circuits with a shared neutral, they should be connected to adjacent positions, one above the other, in the transfer switch. That will assure that the 2 hot wires are on separate phases and will maintain their relationship to neutral. Select the first circuit you want to back up. Remove the power lead from the breaker and reconnect it to a matching breaker in the transfer switch. Always use UL-listed wire nuts to secure the connection. Make sure the circuit you're moving is protected by the same size breaker in the switch. 15-amp circuits must be connected to 15-amp breakers, and 20-amp